Use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Oh, why, God? Why?
You maniac!
Well, I sure hope you're pleased with yourselves, Americans, especially New Yorkers, that you are so blinded, you are so drunk on self-pity in the aftermath of 9/11, you know, as you search for the charred and pulverized remains of your loved ones amongst the rubble of the Twin Towers. You are so wrapped up in your own little lives that you made Zohran Mamdani's poor old little auntie a wee bit uncomfortable on the subway for a few days or something. All right? That was the real tragedy there. That was their 9/11.
Well, I can't say my friend's name, but he said his biggest fear is that ISIS or some terrorist group like that will get a hold of a dirty bomb and explode it over a major city within the United States and kill tens of millions of people, because then the blowback against innocent Muslims would be absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
All right, let's do some jokes.
Who's Daniel Boland? Oh, Daniel Boland, this is a heavy hitter. Do you guys know who this is?
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Well, I, for one, believe that the people of New York, you owe Zohran's auntie a sincere, groveling apology. And fortunately, we live in the age of the internet, so I've been able to track her down. And here she is. Still terrified to wear her hijab 24 years later, despite living in Tanzania.
In a recent address about Islamophobia, you referenced your aunt and some of the harassment she was facing post 9/11. Is that a blood relative?
Yes, I was speaking about my aunt. I was speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin.
Oh, right, I see. How embarrassing, right? It was all a misunderstanding. He just had such a great affection for his father's cousin that he referred to her as his aunt, you see. And that's why he was on the verge of tears, choking up and unable to finish his sentences. It was the thought of his father's cousin being made to feel slightly uncomfortable on a train or something 25 years ago. Who amongst us can say that they've never been in that situation before? You know, you think of something that a cousin of one of your parents mentioned in passing about how they felt a bit in a situation on a train or something 25 years ago. If you had to tell the whole world about that, I mean, who wouldn't shed a tear, okay? Anyway, whatever it is, a cousin, somebody he saw once, it doesn't matter. There should be a plaque. There needs to be justice for this mystery woman.
Speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin, who sadly passed away a few years ago.
Great. It's too late! She died, possibly of a broken heart. She'll never get that plaque. Forgotten by history. It's like she never even existed, the cousin of Zoran's father who died. We never even knew her name. It's like the official records and tangible evidence of her life just, poof, gone. He probably doesn't want to mention her name. Why, you know, let her rest in peace. May God have mercy on your souls, New Yorkers. That's all I can say.
And for the takeaway from my more than 10-minute address about Islamophobia in this race and in this city to be the question of my aunt tells you everything about Andrew Cuomo and his inability to reckon with a crisis.
Ooh, he's a slick young whippersnapper, isn't he? He's learning fast the tricks of the trade. Some top-class deflecting there, Zohran. Why would you be trying to focus on anything that I say and trying to figure out if it's true or not when my opponent is right over there? You should be looking over there. He's awful, Cuomo, okay? And by the way, I like what you did at the beginning of that question.
I was speaking about my aunt. I was speaking about Zohran, my father's cousin.
Now, you're going to think I'm nitpicking a bit, maybe, but you're wrong, okay? When the reporter asks Zohran to clear up who this relative is of his that felt uncomfortable on a train 25 years ago and how he's related to her, he goes, was that a blood relative? So the reporter knows, and he goes, yes, she would, my father's cousin, Zohran. All right, he uses an Urdu word out of nowhere that no one understands to mean his father's cousin. Why would you add that detail? Do you think that makes it sound more genuine or something? These people are such sociopaths. We all embellished anecdotes when we were 6 years old with unnecessary details. You pushed your cousin over and you said, oh, he's hit his head on, the little bit of the, what do we call it? The mantle piece, right? Yeah, the mantle. You see the marble corner of the mantle? He bumped his head on there. That's what happened, you see. All right, we've all been there. But by the time we're in our mid-30s, you're supposed to have a fully developed, fleshed-out superego. And you're supposed to understand how and why people perceive things the way they do. And when you go, yes, my father's cousin is my Zerefwi, it's definitely, and she died. Unfortunately, she's dead. That sounds very sus.
6 years ago, shortly after I had announced I was running for assembly, a well-meaning Muslim uncle pulled me aside.
So it's his uncle this time. Okay, then.
A well-meaning Muslim uncle pulled me aside. He smiled softly and looked at me with care.
That sounds incredibly creepy and gay. I'm sorry, who as an adult gets pulled to one side by their uncle in any way at all, but if he then smiles softly and looks at you with care, what the fuck are we doing? That's not a thing. That never happened, okay? It never happened, I hope.
In a quiet voice, he told me I did not have to tell people I was Muslim. His eyes kind, his beard proud, and his face heavy with the implication of the unsaid.
This can only be some kind of severe personality disorder. You can't be saying this stuff. It sounds like you're about to get buggered.
His eyes kind, his beard proud,
his ginormous erection throbbing,
and his face heavy with the implication of the unsaid.
My asshole gaping. That's so creepy, everything you just said.
I had not learned the lesson that he had been taught, time and again. It is the lesson that safety could only be found in the shadows of our city, that it is in those shadows alone where Muslims could embrace the fullness of our own identities.
Well, where are you supposed to embrace the fullness of your identity? Why do you think I do that? You think I go out there in the sunshine? No. In fact, I'll show you where I go to fully embrace my identity. I go over there, all right?
That it is in those shadows alone where Muslims could embrace the fullness of our own identities.
You know what? Zohran's absolutely right. Why isn't everyone making me the center of the universe at all times? Why is it only when I'm in my shadows, in the shadowiest, shadiest part of my living room? It's only down here in the shadows where people really... They don't get it, do they? They don't get how fucking amazing I am. Right? I should be the only thing on anyone's mind, really. You know? This is the only place I can fully embrace my identity. And I'll show them. Oh, I'll show them. Fuck!
And that if we are to emerge from them, then it is in those shadows where we must leave our faith. These are lessons that so many Muslim New Yorkers have been taught again and again.
I read in the newspaper the other day this following sentence. At the trumpet call of Ibsen and Shaw, modern woman rises to take her place in society. And I thought to myself, this is very good news, very encouraging. I wonder if it's true. Let's see. Now, who's a modern woman? Oh, Mrs. Buttons. She comes in to clean every Tuesday and every Thursday. She lives in Clapham. She comes on the omnibus and she scrubs the floors and she has 3 children. And if I say to myself, at the trumpet call of Ibsen and Shaw, Mrs. Buttons rises to take her place in society, I realize the sentence is not only nonsense, it's pernicious nonsense.
Yesterday, Andrew Cuomo laughed and agreed when a radio show host said that I would cheer another 9/11.
How could you, Andrew Cuomo, after what happened to Zohran's poor Zarafi? Who shall remain unnamed out of respect.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of this city. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
How absolutely self-centered do you have to be to believe that that should evoke any sympathy amongst the electorate, that your aunt had to stop taking the subway for a little while? She felt a bit uncomfortable in her hijab after 9/11. Yeah, there are about 3,000 people who never took the subway again, Zohran, after 9/11. Read the room, as though that's even a thing. Like that 25 years ago, a distant relative of yours, maybe, I mean, it obviously never happened, or it's massively exaggerated, but someone he maybe sort of knew felt a bit uncomfortable, right? There are people right now getting murdered in New York every day. As though your weird, separated third-hand anecdote has got any bearing on anything. Welling up about it, what a complete fanny.
Growing up in the shadow of 9/11, I have known what it means to live with an undercurrent of suspicion. I will always remember the disdain I faced, the way my name could immediately become Muhammad, and how I could return to my city only to be asked in a double-mirrored room at the airport if I had any plan of attacking it. And since I was very young, I have known that I was spared the worst of it. I was never pressured to be an informant like a classmate of mine.
Oh, a classmate now, is it? Nothing ever happens to you directly, does it, Zohran? And by the way, yes, pressure people to be informants. There, I said it. The intelligence agency's doing their job. That's what I want.
To be Muslim in New York is to expect indignity. But indignity does not make us distinct. There are many New Yorkers who face it. It is the tolerance of that indignity that does. Since I announced my candidacy for mayor 1 year ago yesterday, I've sought to be the candidate fighting for everyday New Yorkers, not simply the Muslim candidate. I've carried these indignities with me each moment of this race, doing so all the while as the first major Muslim candidate for mayor in New York City history. I thought that if I could build a campaign of universality, I could define myself as the leader I aspire to be, one representing every New Yorker, no matter their skin color or religion. I thought if I worked hard enough, it would allow me to be that leader. And I thought that if I behaved well enough or bit my tongue enough in the face of racist, baseless attacks while returning back to my central message, it would allow me to be more than just my faith. I was wrong. No amount of redirection is ever enough. In doing this, I have told the wide-eyed young boy in Jackson Heights or the first-time voter in Parkchester that they too should remain in the shadows. I am becoming that same uncle who took me aside.
Well, that's good to hear that he's correcting course. Nobody wants to be an uncle speaking to wide-eyed little boys in shadowy corners or whatever he's on about. Anyway, look, I could go into the politics that I disagree with Zohran. Obviously, I am not I'm not a big fan of Hamas. He seems to be quite cozy with them and people of their ilk.
You know what gets me? The fact that nobody seems to know what Mamdani actually said, and so he gets away with saying stuff like this.
I have never, not once, spoken in support of global jihad.
He has actually plainly confessed his support for global jihad in the 2008 landmark case, US versus the Holy Land 5, 5 people were convicted of providing material support to Hamas by way of millions and millions and millions of dollars in violation of federal law while disguising it behind charity. Those 5 people were sentenced to 65 years in a federal correctional facility. They were called the Holy Land 5. In 2017, under the pseudonym Mr. Cardamom, Mamdani himself drops a rap song in which he states, "My love to the Holy Land 5. Okay? My love to the people who funneled millions to Hamas. You better look them up."
And look, I don't want to seize no means of production.
Power, this journey in understanding that it is socialism that we are fighting for this moment right now, right? If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But then there are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it is the end goal of seizing the means of production.
All right, but be that as it may, it is a fact that I don't understand how somebody reaches their mid-30s and still thinks communism's a great idea, which he seems to. The problem is, for me, all of that is secondary. I really focus more on things like his fake welling up about the cousin of a father 25 years ago. I really hyper-focus on stuff like the code switching, speaking in different accents when he's speaking to different people.
Socialism.
This is Zohran Mamdani. He's running for mayor of New York and currently polling second. Here's what he normally sounds like.
We gather tonight in the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country, in the history of the world.
But in an interview in South Africa, he sounded a little different.
I actually created a playlist for Mira, who also happens to be my mother. Nepotism and hard work goes a long way.
And in an interview with the Turkish-American podcast, Mamdani sounded different again.
I'll be honest with you, Brother Mansoom, is that at this point, not many people are thinking about it.
And here is Zohran during his rapper days.
It would have been here earlier, but a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour. As in, you can't
Celebrity
just
things.
you can't just stop it.
The victimhood stuff about the indignity of being a Muslim in New York. That kind of stuff suggests to me that I am looking at a snake.
We stand on the precipice of an election, but that is not what today is about. We know that in less than 2 weeks, we will say goodbye to a disgraced former governor and our current indicted mayor. The bigger question is whether we are willing to say goodbye to something much larger. It is whether we are willing to say goodbye to anti-Muslim sentiment.
Yep. Bye. Anti-Muslim sentiment.
A question lies before each of us. Will we continue to accept a narrow definition of what it means to be a New Yorker that makes smaller the number of those guaranteed a life of dignity? Will we remain in the shadows, or will we together step into the light?
Okay, if you say so, Zohran, I'll step out into the...
I will not change who I am. I will not change how I eat. I will not change the faith that I am proud to belong to. But there is one thing I will change. I will no longer look for myself in the shadows. I will find myself in the light. Thank you.
Well, I guess all that's left for me to do is to wish Zohran the best of luck in finding himself in the light, or whatever it is he's doing. Talking to little boys in shadows. I don't know. Look, the point is, I am done with this video. I can't be asked to do anything else. If you've enjoyed any part of it, give the video a like. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you want to know when I bring out a new video, follow me on X and on Instagram. That's all under this video. Join my Patreon if you don't want me being a slave to the testicle shavers, Manscaped, and, VPNs. Oh, they're probably illegal, those VPNs. They would be if I had my way. I want you all with a real profile pic. I want to know where you live. You will be my informants when I'm king. Look, I've had a lovely time. If you've had a lovely time, make that manifest. And I'll leave you with the outro. It's poignant. I'll see you in the next one.
You don't trust an abstract statement. You do not trust someone saying A plus A equals 2A, because there is no such thing in the universe as A. And although we're all capable of doing substitutional metaphorizing or algebra, as it were, with ideas, the fact is it's much better to say one thing of something that is real that we know plus another thing of something that is real that we know and have experienced is two of those things.